My name is Mike Russo of Russo's Books in Bakersfield, California, and this is the Children's Author Showcase.
Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, Central Coastal California Chapter, in conjunction with Russo's Books, presents Children's Author Showcase, Episode 4, How to Live on the Edge, written by Sarah Lynn Scheerger, published August 2020.
Thus far in our series, we've seen some wonderful children's picture books. We now turn our attention to a new young adult novel. Books allow us to delve into so many important topics and explore deep emotions. How to Live on the Edge is a book that hits close to home for me, and I hope you'll enjoy hearing from the author. I'm pleased to welcome Sarah to the Children's Author Showcase.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, my name is Sarah Scheerger. I write books for kids and teenagers. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my newest book, How to Live on the Edge. I'm going to read to you the very beginning of the book, and then I'm going to talk to you more about the inspiration for the story, and I'll round out the ending with some information on my other books. So here we go. Chapter 1. There's a curse on the women in my family. We die young. In the last 2 generations, not a single woman in my mom's family has lived past the age of 37. Aunt T is still alive and kicking, and the doctors say she's a perfectly healthy 32-year-old. But I doubt the Silk family curse will pass her by. Just like I doubt it will pass me by. Which means almost half of my life is over. I intend to enjoy it. So that's just the very beginning, the introduction to How to Live on the Edge. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the inspiration for the story. So here we go. Talk a little bit about the inspiration for the story and the questions that were sparked by the idea. So typically for me, my stories are sparked by a big question mark moment, a what if. I have an experience or I'm aware of a situation and it causes a series of questions to materialize in my mind, and then I dig deeper to figure out how to transition that into a story. For this particular story, the light bulb moment was sparked by something unpleasant. I learned that I am a carrier for the BRCA gene mutation, and that's a gene mutation that puts people at risk for breast and ovarian cancers. And typically when people are given this information, they're faced with an array of choices. They can do preventative surgeries, they can do more frequent screenings, there's a wide range of options. And for me, I was at a place in my life where I had children, I'd been married for a long time. It really wasn't that hard of a decision for me to figure out how to manage my risk. But here's my light bulb moment. I started to think about what might it be like for a teenager to get this type of information at such a young age. It made me think about the teenage experience and how this information might change the view of someone's body. What would it be like for a teenager to grapple with these very complex choices? I wondered if it would alter a teenager's timeline for thinking about marriage. Would they be pushed to get married earlier? Would it change her timeline for having children? Would she be concerned about having children at all? Maybe perhaps fearful that she might pass on the gene mutation to her children? And I wondered if having all these choices and having all this information, if that would feel empowering or completely overwhelming. It also made me reflect on myself as a woman. What makes me a woman? Is it my external body? Is it the ability to have children and produce life? Is it something totally different and deeper? And these questions really begged me to explore further. So for this story, I created 2 characters, 2 sisters, Cayenne and Saffron, and they're very different girls. They have had shared experiences because they've been living in the same home for their entire lives, but their interpretation of these experiences is very different. And so in this story, the girls receive a series of video messages and diary entries from their mother who passed away from breast cancer when they were very, very young. And these were all the things that their mother had wanted to say to them, but they were just small children at the time of her death. And so she couldn't share the things she wanted to share or talk in as much detail as she would have wanted at that time. So instead she wrote her ideas down and took video diaries of herself. And the girls are watching these and reconnecting with her while simultaneously grappling with their own present day risk of their own health issues. and their aunt who had raised them has just recently learned that she has the BRCA gene mutation and must face her own choices and how she's going to manage her own risk. So I typically like to take multiple points of view and use these points of view to push against each other. I think it creates such an opportunity for perspective taking and diving deeper into these really complex choices that we all make and complex ways of looking at the world. I tend to write in multiple points of view because I love to push against these different perspectives and points of views. And in this case, the story is written from one point of view, but we are able to access other characters' points of views because both of the sisters write journal entries to their mother, back to her, even though she's passed away, as a gift to her and as an exercise for themselves. And so we're able to dive into their minds as well and see different points of view and different ways of dealing with situations and figuring out how to live. So I came up with a series of questions that teachers can use with their students for journaling and for conversation, for dialogue. My day job is I provide mental health services in the school setting. So I provide counseling services and social emotional learning, and I love helping people explore how they view themselves. So these are all the questions that I came up with, and you are welcome to take a screenshot or pause this video so you can look at them in more depth. But basically, it's diving into what makes you who you are, what makes you special. Do you define yourself based on your physical characteristics or based on your talents and skills? Do you define yourself based on who you are as a person, your personality characteristics and your qualities? And I wonder if you were to look at that, what would you see in terms of patterns about what you wrote down? If you ask somebody who cares about you deeply to ask you how to define you, would they define you differently? Would they give you sort of more credit or look more closely at your internal qualities and characteristics? And what if you wrote about someone that you care deeply about, someone you love deeply? How do you define them? What makes them special? And is that based on their body, their physical characteristics, or their talents and skills? Or is that based on their personality characteristics and their qualities as a human being? So I love looking at those questions and the answers and kind of diving deeper into the themes that we have written about for ourselves and how we define who we are. Did we define ourselves the way we want to define ourselves? Who do you want to be? All those questions just beg further exploration and conversation. And I hope that we all give ourselves credit for being the humans that we are based on who we are as people, our internal characteristics and qualities. I do think that our perspective changes throughout life over time. And I think that those things become clearer as we get older, but I'm hopeful that teenagers can also access some pride and confidence in who they are as human beings. And hopefully this exercise will help kind of spark that conversation. The other thing I'm hopeful for with this story is just raising awareness about cancer prevention. We all need to know our bodies. We all need to do self-checks. Even teenagers should be very well educated about what they need to watch for and keep an eye on, because our health is important and knowledge is power. So it's very good to raise awareness of this concern at a young age. And you're welcome to check out all these websites and resources. They're all wonderful. Before we wrap it up for today, I'll talk briefly about some of my other books for kids and teenagers. I'll talk a little bit about Operation Frog Effect. It's a middle grade novel. It's written in 8 points of view. It's about 8 diverse students with their own unique storytelling styles. One huge mistake, a class pet frog named Kermit, a creative out-of-the-box teacher, and something I call the frog effect, which is the idea that everything you do in this world makes a difference in positive or negative ways in the lives of other people. Each character tells their component of the story through their own format and voice. One of my characters writes through poems. One of them tells his story through graphic novel. Some of my characters tell their story through letters and journal entries. I have a character who tells his component of the story through movie script. One of the things I love about using the graphic novel component is it's another way to bring the story to life in a whole nother way. I have classroom extension activities on my website, including the Operation Frog Effect Mix and Match Challenge. I challenge anyone to pick a scene and a character and rewrite that scene in somebody else's point of view using a different style and a different voice. It's been fun to see how teachers are using Operation Frog Effect in the classroom. And I'll talk briefly about Mitzvah Pizza. It's a picture book. It's inspired actually by a real life pizza place in Philadelphia where people can pay it forward with pizza. You can buy a piece of pizza for somebody else and stick a sticky note to the wall. And then when somebody comes in and can't afford to pay, they can just take the sticky note off the wall and use it as payment. Thanks for listening, everyone. Happy reading. Have a great day.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing your wonderful book with us. I'm happy to recommend How to Live on the Edge to teens, and we'd like to make this special offer. To purchase How to Live on the Edge, go to www.russosbooks.com/children. By going to that website, you'll see Sarah's interview, as well as previous and future interviews, and you'll also receive a special offer from Russo's Books. When you buy from Russo's Books, you're supporting independent book selling. You receive a 15% discount on all purchases, and if your purchase exceeds $35, we offer free shipping. Through a special arrangement with the SCBWI, you also receive an autographed book plate from Sarah when you purchase How to Live on the Edge. This is an important book, and we appreciate your being with us here today. Thank you very much.